Welcome to this episode of Modern Leaders powered by AI. Today we're going to look at how you can use ChatGPT to analyze and potentially gain additional insights into the feedback received from an employee. In all the companies I've been working for until now, we had some kind of process which in the end resulted in a written report where the employee as well as the team lead provided feedback about the year that has passed as well as an outlook towards where the person would like that career to go. That output is of course worth gold as long as it turns into actionable items. Today we're going to look at how you can make that happen. So let's switch to ChatGPT. I wanted to use version 4 for this video and therefore I pre-recorded it. Version 4 is still quite slow in the generation. That meant this kind of videos becomes very, very long. I start the conversation with a fairly simple engineered prompt. You are an experienced leader, you are focused on the well-being of your team, you want to develop the people to their very best, you believe in the concept defined in the book Drive and Power to the Edge. You're also a psychologist able to read between the lines in what people say. You will help me analyze feedback from an employee, start the conversation by asking what the user needs and nothing more. In this engineered prompt, I basically set the context. I set the context to be a leader who wants to analyze the feedback from a team member and who believes in the concept defined in the book Drive and Power to the Edge. That basically sets the context and also drives the kind of answers that we'll get from ChatGPT. I thereafter insert the feedback from the colleague. Now, I have, of course, anonymized this. Well, actually, I didn't anonymize it. ChatGPT did. I basically fed in, just copy-pasted the whole feedback form into ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT to remove or change all the names to other names. So it did it. So that's all the feedback. I'll scroll through that quickly. And ChatGPT basically starts by giving me a summary of the feedback. I'm not going to look at that in detail now because I want to ask my own question. So the first question I ask is, what is the net promoter score that this employee would give the company? ChatGPT does a bit of talking back and forth and concludes in the end that the net promoter score is between 7 to 9. Actually, this colleague gave a net promoter score of 8. So that matches extremely well what the actual score was given. Notice I removed that score from the feedback, of course. ChatGPT didn't read this. This is an extract from the actual words used in the feedback. Thereafter, I asked ChatGPT to summarize the relationship that the employee has with other persons. And first, I get a fairly high-level descriptions. I get a mention of names. Notice these names have been anonymized. They are non-existing people. I ask for more detail, list each person and the relationship, and I get a detailed list of the people mentioned in the feedback and the relationship. I read through this and it matches extremely well my understanding of this person and the interactions with other people. Not so surprising considering that this feedback is basically extracted from the feedback from the person that I copied into ChatGPT. I ask it to list more. Remember, always ask for more. And I get the remaining list of people and the relationship that this colleague has to these people. Then I ask what the colleague is particularly happy about. And I get a list about the things that have succeeded. Again, I reviewed this list and it is indeed what I also feel when I talk with a colleague and read the feedback. This is very accurate. This is what the person is happy about. Then I can of course ask what the person is not so happy about. And there in the feedback form is mentioned some very specific things. We believe in candid feedback in my company, and that means the feedback form also says things very directly. And that is listed here. Again, matches very well the feedback and my impression when I read it. I then go a bit more into detail. I asked ChatGPT to read between the lines. Is there any feedback, negative feedback, that is not directly said, but which can be inferred from the words used or the sort of language used in the feedback form? And I get some quite interesting things here. I get, first of all, overload of responsibilities. Indeed. I get insufficient support in certain areas and specifically mentioned there. I get limited access to important information. There is a hidden complaint in the feedback or a hidden concern in the feedback that information is not really being forwarded to the person, and a need for clear vision and purpose, which is something that is in the form in one sentence or half a sentence, but I actually talk about that with the person, and the person have mentioned this directly to me as well. So indeed, that is a hidden comment inside the feedback form. I then continue to ask what motivates the person, and I get here a list. This is first of all, the headlines are very generic because it's basically exactly the headlines from the book Drive, as I also ask in this question. And I get very generic feedback. That was not really, they don't really go into the feedback that was provided. It doesn't really extract the specifics there. Still, this is useful, gives a high-level overview of the concepts. Then I are asked to suggest a stepwise plan for how to support the person to reach their career ambitions and stay motivated. And I get a fairly long list. Understand their goals, of course, provide opportunities for autonomy, yes, offer mentorship and coaching, indeed, encourage skill development, always, foster a sense of purpose, yes, monitoring progress and provide feedback continuously, adjust the plan as needed. Of course, it's a continuously evolving plan, not just once a year. Encourage collaboration and team building, always. Recognize and reward achievements. Again, always. Maintain open communication. Yes, of course. This is not very specific to the person. These are a general plan. It's basically something that could be applied to anyone. Doesn't really include anything that was in the feedback. Therefore, I asked ChatGPT to recreate the plan and detail each step specifically based on the feedback from the person. And I get more or less the same list, but there are here inserted specific things related to the feedback given, which make this plan a little bit better and little bit more specific for that person. I think the output here could have been improved heavily if the prompt has been better. But anyway, I get an outline of a plan. It is pretty good. It contains all the important aspects. I just need to take this plan and tailor it for the specific person to have a real plan I can execute. That's all for this episode. Thanks for watching. As we saw, we can use ChatGPT to extract from the feedback from a team member the good, the bad, and look a little bit between the line and see if there's something we didn't discover, and finally make a draft for a plan for how to develop that person. Not a very good plan, but at least a draft of a plan. We did all this based on a very simple prompt. If we had a better prompt, a more detailed prompt, the result would likely be even better. Am I suggesting that you use only ChatGPT to review the feedback from a team member? No, of course not. You need to talk with the team member. You need to make your own opinion. You need to read the feedback. You need to understand and have empathy with that person. You need to connect. That is your job as a leader. If you can't do that, well, maybe you're not a leader. But what you can use ChatGPT to do is to go back and summarize the feedback and maybe get a different view of the person, maybe see things you didn't see in your own first pass. Based on that, you can make your plan, you can make your opinions, you can take your decisions. If you enjoyed this video, press that subscription button. It does make a difference and you don't miss out on any cool videos.